Hi everybody, welcome to our channel with Love, Life, and Marriage with the Woods. I'm Saiko.
And I'm Sharon.
And we're glad to have you here with us. She's laughing because I told her I was going to try to do that and see if she's going to keep her composure, but as you know, she said I make her laugh all the time. Anyway, glad to have you with us today. A few things we want you to do before we get started. Go to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the videos. All the content that we have is for you and for others that would love to be a part of our ministry. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach out to me, SaikoWoods@yahoo.com. Reach out to my wife, her email.
Sharon Renee Woods 36@yahoo.com.
So that's some contact information for you. What we want to do now, we were talking about last time we did our recording, we answered some questions. And so we had still received a lot of other questions that didn't really have time to go into and to respond. So we thought it would be a good idea for us to respond and to answer the questions. We have some very good questions too. So we want to answer these questions and help those who may have these things that they're working through and trying to get answers to resolve. So, and most of these questions are for my wife. So I'm going to read the questions to her because, you know, last time she had her phone and she was doing all like this. So I'm going to read the questions to my lovely bride. So let's get started. All right. So Sharon, the question is asked to you. Is physical attraction important?
Yes.
You sure? Because you laugh when you, like, am I a joke or something? I mean.
No.
Okay, so.
I'm laughing because Madeline is here.
Okay, so is physical attraction important?
Yes. Physical attraction, I would say it's very important because you want to be attracted to the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. If this is a relationship that's gonna go on forever, like marriage, you need to be physically attracted to someone.
Okay. So physical attraction, what are some things that if people, let me put it this way. Do you believe that when you are physically attracted to someone that individual needs to do whatever they can, he or she can, to keep themselves up so that way they don't let themselves go?
Absolutely.
Okay, so give the audience, the ladies, some pointers, and I'll try to answer and give the men some advice as well too. But I mean, you're a lady. Do you need to be walking around looking all busted?
I mean, okay, let's be real. Let's be real, realistic about this.
Please, unscripted.
When you are married, at the beginning of the marriage, things are new. Things are fresh. And even when you're in your courtship phase, things are new, things are fresh. And if we're speaking realistically, you don't walk around, ladies, with a full face of makeup all day, every day.
Right.
You don't walk around in a full attire of clothing with heels and all that stuff. Nobody does that.
Okay.
That's not real life. That's not how we That's not how we get down. That does not happen.
But do you walk around, looking like, okay, what did I marry?
No, I'm saying you don't want to walk around looking like, like you just got out of bed all day.
Okay.
You need to look. If you're a stay-at-home mom, then I would suggest that you look presentable by the time your husband comes back home.
Okay.
Don't look like you've been in bed all day.
Okay.
And it's a lot to deal with when you have, especially when you have children and when you have small children. Particularly when you have a newborn. Then the husband, on the other hand, my husband can address that. You have to be understanding of the other spouse, because if you're the caretaker of that newborn, a lot of times you don't have time to think about yourself. You barely have a time to take a shower.
True.
You barely have time to comb your hair.
True.
You barely have time to eat.
Right.
So, realistically speaking, you do what you can.
Yeah.
And then your spouse needs to be understanding of what season you guys are in at that time.
True.
It's not going to be like that all the time, but he needs to understand the season that you're in and kind of help you and lovingly be with you and support you during that time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say, even with the men, what you did to get that woman, you need to do whatever it takes to keep them. Now, I'm not advocating, you just letting yourself go, or just, well, she got me. She knew what she was getting when she got me. No, the attitude and the heart should be, look, if I was attracted to this person and this person was attracted to me, we know things change. We understand that. But keep ourselves up the best as we possibly can. Don't be looking like a slob. Don't let yourself go. Don't gain on extra weight and things like that. And if you can lose it, then try to lose it. But at the same time as well, we know that life happens. And like we talked about in the last video, women who have children, they have babies. Men shouldn't be expecting their wives to have an hourglass shape or anything like that. Do what we can, but do the best we can with what God has given to us. Because at the end of the day, we're stewards of our bodies. And so we need to make sure that we do take care of ourselves, because we want to be around for each other until Jesus returns, or until he decides to take us home. So hopefully that answers the question, is physical attraction important? Is it very, very important? I would say it's important, but it should not be a deal breaker if you're married to that person. And then at the same time, beauty is an eye of the beholder. So what may be attractive to you may not be attractive to somebody else, but you need to know what you like, and you need to be honest with that person as well too. Right. If you're not attracted to the individual, you need to be honest with them.
Right.
Don't play games. Don't lead them on. And
don't waste their time.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, because you're just gonna lead yourself up to disappointment, and then you're gonna find yourself being dissatisfied and having to go somewhere else, and you shouldn't be doing that in the first place either. So you need to be mindful of that.
Hold on.
Yes.
I was going to talk about something else, because I know we addressed the other question in our other video, in our first video, but about one of the things that attracted me to you. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I thought about was the fact that I remember when I went to your apartment. And you were there? Yeah. She brought her mom to my apartment. I did. I think we was already dating, and I trusted her with my apartment. As a matter of fact, we was dating and about to be engaged to be married. Close. Yeah, I don't remember what stage we were in at that time, but for some reason, my mother and I were out. Right. Because there was a mall close to where his apartment was.
It was Greenspoint Mall?
It was
Greenspoint Mall.
And we were going to the mall, and I said, "Oh, Mom." I said, let me take you by Seiko's house. I want to go by his apartment. I want to show you something. She said, what? She didn't understand what was going on, but I took her there, and we went inside, and I was like, look at this. It was spick and span. It was clean. Everything, his bed was made up. There was no dishes in the sink. There was no trash all over the floor. There was nothing on the counter, no crumbs on the counter. The tub wasn't dirty. It was just nice and clean. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to him, because he was very neat and very orderly and very clean.
Do you think that, with us having children, being married, having a family, do you think I've slacked on those things?
No.
No. I would say I haven't a little bit. I would say I have a little bit.
Well, a little bit.
Because of work and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm still conscientious of my body. Matter of fact, my kids will try to make fun of me because I don't stink. I don't have foot odor or anything like that.
Y'all, his feet don't stink.
I don't. No, I can't do that. I can't do the Fritos.
Even after he works all day, some guys will come home from work and put their work shoes in the closet, and the closet stinks. Oh my goodness!
I can't do it. Sorry,
he's not like that. I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord.
And also another thing for me is like I don't like dirty fingernails.
Oh yeah,
that's
that was a pet peeve for me.
I try to keep my nails clean.
Yeah, so. I don't like dirty nails. I can't. You can't touch me with no.
I'm a truck driver, but I wear gloves and things like that. But I try to keep myself clean and keep my hygiene up. So I just don't. I can't do that. All right, so let's get to the other questions here. So another question was, how do you feel about being a stepmother to Seiko's children from his previous marriage? How did you all as a couple resolve issues as a blended family? So that's a two-part question. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about being a stepmother to Seiko's children? So let me just say this for those who may not know. I had 2 children from 2 prior marriages before getting married to my wife Sharon. as a Christian, this is my first marriage. But as a human being in my entire lifetime, this is my third marriage. But I had 2 boys from 2 different marriages. And so when I met my wife, my boys were already like
Jamari was 3.
Yeah.
And Kier was probably 6.
6 or 7 years old.
He was 6. He hadn't turned 7
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
He was 6.
So how, I mean, tell the audience, tell the people, what. First of all, tell them what your mentality at first, because she was not with any men who had kids.
I personally never thought that I would ever even consider dating anybody that already had children,
right?
Let alone 2.
Yeah.
From 2 different baby mamas. So that was something I never imagined myself doing that. And that was one of the things that my mother talked to me about before we got married and before we even started dating. She was like, "You sure you want to get into that? Do you know what you're getting into?"
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought about it. I prayed about it. And during the courtship phase of our relationship, it just seemed like, to me, everything just kind of fit. Everything just kind of fit. It just kind of flowed. There was no tension, so to speak. Now there was tension in other areas, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that'll be another. When we talk about this other tension, we're talking about baby mama drama, baby mama issues, child support. We're gonna talk about all these issues, y'all. So trust me, just stay tuned. We kind of like building up, if you will, in these videos. We just want to answer the questions and kind of like lay the foundation, for what we're here to do now. So, your other question, you want to still hang on this a little bit?
Well, I was still talking about the boys because they were so young when we started dating, and the youngest was 3, and I think we went somewhere. We went to the outlets or something. Was that the first time?
Cairo.
Yeah, we went to Conroe outlets one time.
Yes.
And Jamari was with him. He had him for the weekend.
Yep.
And it was so funny because I don't know why, but I ended up sitting in the back seat for some reason. I don't know why I was sitting in the back seat.
He wasn't in the front.
No, he couldn't sit in the front seat. So maybe that's why I sat back there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, and somehow or another, he ended up falling asleep on me.
Yeah.
And that was hilarious to him. But, and then there were times when Seiko would be at work. And I would be at home at his apartment with his son.
Yep.
And it just felt normal. It just felt like normal to me. It wasn't something that I felt out of place doing. It was just like I was taking care of my own child.
And here's the reason why also, she would even sometimes pick my son up for me because I would get off work late. And so during that time with my, this was during my second marriage at the time, going through a divorce situation with that. But I would ask for her to pick up my son so that way when I get off, because I had to get him by a certain time. And those of you who know about custody and all that kind of stuff, you already know how difficult it can be when you're having somebody that at that time that may not be willing to work with you, or you may have those issues at the onset in that relationship. So she would come by my apartment and stay with my son until I get home. And so they had a bond and had a relationship as well too. And she also changed his diapers. She did that too for him. Yeah, Jamari. Sorry, but she did.
He wasn't in diapers.
Yes, he was. You changed his diapers.
I mean, I know I gave him a bath.
Okay, gave him a bath.
I gave him baths and stuff.
Gave him a bath.
I remember changing the diapers.
Gave him a bath. Sorry. Gave him a bath. So,
because I would give him a bath and have him ready for bed by the time Seiko got home.
That's it. Yes.
From work.
Yeah.
Because he would call me and say, "Can you go ahead and get him ready for bed?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that."
Yep.
And when he got home, I'd go home because I still live with my parents.
Yeah.
I still lived at home with my parents until the day after, until we got married.
Yeah, she was 20. We both got married at 29.
Yeah.
Just before our 30th birthday. Yeah. She's born in November. I'm born in October, so we're born a month apart from each other. Yeah. So I would say this as well. So, for those of you who may have children from prior relationships or prior marriages, if you are about to be in a relationship with that other person, that individual, this, for us, I don't know about you, for us, this is a deal breaker. How that person treats your children is going to determine how or if you decide to be with that individual. Because if they don't treat those children of yours like they're their own children, why would you be involved in them? Why would you be in a relationship with them? It would be a waste of your time. You're going to cause a lot of problems and unnecessary, trouble in your house and in your life if that individual does not love your children the way you would love them, and vice versa as well too.
Right.
So that's a deal breaker for us.
And then the other thing too, another thing that we established early on was what the boys were going to call me.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yep.
And I think we gave them two options.
Yep.
They could either call me Miss Sharon.
Yep.
Or Mom.
That's it.
And they both chose to call me Mom.
Right.
They never called me Miss Sharon.
Right.
They both chose to call me Mom. And that was a decision that was made amongst us when we discussed it. And that was what they felt more comfortable calling me. So that's what they called me then, and that's what they still call me today.
Very day, grown men, and you still call her Mom. Mm-hmm. How did you all, as a couple, resolve issues as a blended family? Whatever issues.
It depends on what the issues were.
I'll give you one. So, discipline. I mean, I was a disciplinarian. I mean, still to this day, But even then, it wasn't that if my wife couldn't discipline them. She could if she wanted to. But basically, it was already clear that anything goes on, whether it was our kids from our own relationship, our own marriage, or outside, prior to the marriage, that I'll be disciplining my children, but she would have just as equal right and authority to do it as well too. Because here's one thing I don't agree with. If a quote unquote, and I hate using the word step parent, I'll just say second parent or whatever you want to use the term.
A lot of people say bonus mom or bonus dad.
Mom or bonus dad or whatever, or plus mom plus dad, however you want to use that. If that person is helping to take care of your child and spending their time, their resources, their energy, and pouring into that child, then I believe, biblically speaking, they have just as much right to discipline and to rear and to raise that child in the fear, of course, and the admonition and instruction of the Lord. Why? Because if that person's going to be in your life, that child's going to be in that person's life as well too. So why would that child be off limits to that parent when it comes to disciplinary issues, when they weren't off limits when it was time to buy them something or to take them somewhere or to care for them, So it's all inclusive. It shouldn't be this compartmentalized where you can take care of him and do this and do that, but when it comes to the discipline or the spanking or whatever the case might be, I don't think you should do that because I don't want the baby mama to trip or the baby. Listen, then that should be thought about before y'all got together. Simple as that.
There was no like dividing lines, so to speak. Well, these are my kids and you can't discipline them. Because I hear a lot of women say that, when they have children and they get with another man or whatever. Well, no, those are my kids. You can't whip my kids. Right. And that should be a deal breaker right there immediately in my eyes. Right.
I agree. Totally agree. So these are some good questions. I mean, we really appreciate these questions. These are very good questions. I know that somebody out there, hopefully you've been, confirmed in your own heart that, wow, so I am thinking right about this in relationship to, step children or additional children, or being an additional parent or an additional, mother or father to a blended family. So another person's asked the question, how do you know that he will lead you in the right direction spiritually before you marry? How did you know that he will lead you in the right direction spiritually before you marry?
Well, I know one of the things is because when we were, I'm trying to remember if we were actually dating at this point. Because remember those conversations we would have on the phone? You would ask me about what I thought about certain things spiritually. You asked me what I thought about. We talked about rearing children. We talked about how many children. We talked about disciplining children. What my views were on that. We talked about leadership. We talked about the church. What the leadership should look like in the church. We talked about all of that. All
of that. So we basically laid out some things that we, the negotiables and the non-negotiables. And I would encourage people, if you are, thinking about marrying, those are some questions you need to ask yourself, and be open and honest with that individual as well too. What are their views on children? Because there are some people who want to have children, and if you want to have children, or if you're not able to have children because of any physiological issues or things like that, those things need to be discussed.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go into a relationship, go into a marriage, go into a covenant where that individual is surprised and not knowing that these are some things or some factors that you are either dealing with or have been struggling with or just don't want to do. Give that individual that opportunity to either accept that or say, you know what, here's my worldview, here's my thoughts about this. I believe children are a gift from God. Here's my views regarding contraception. Here's my views regarding finances. Here's my views regarding child rearing. All these things, because if not, you're going to find yourself in a problem.
Yeah.
And you just want to avoid yourself from that. So I'd rather you ask questions now than you're regretting not asking them later.
Right.
So, what is one piece of advice you would give to a newly married couple now that you've been married for 20 years? We just celebrated our 20th anniversary June 3rd of this year. So we've been married for 20 years by God's grace. So
together for 22.
22 total, 20 of marital bliss by God's grace. So what is what is some advice? What is a good piece of advice? If you had one or two things you would share or communicate, what would those things be?
One of the major things I would say I would encourage newly married couples is communication. Having open, honest dialogue and communication with your spouse. Knowing how to communicate with your spouse. And communicating doesn't only involve talking, it also involves listening.
Yes.
So learning how to do those two things together as a couple, being able to hear and actually understand and interpret what your spouse is saying clearly, and then you being able to communicate what you actually want to say to your spouse clearly, and making sure that he understands what you're saying, and there's no miscommunication or misinterpretation of what's being said.
Like, for instance, so if you're not sure about something, you can say something like this. Okay, I heard you say this. Tell me what you meant by that, because this is what I heard you say. Is that what you meant to say?
Right.
And then that way you get an individual the opportunity to say, no, here's what I was trying to say, or no, here's what I meant to say, or no, that's what I said. So that way it won't be any, drawing a wrong conclusion.
Right.
And at the same time, the Bible said love believes all things. In other words, that we give the individual a benefit of the doubt. And that's very hard to do when you're angry. It's very hard to do when you're upset, and it's very hard to do when your feelings are already hurt. So, asking those questions, and one of the things my wife always talks about, or always says rather, ask instead of assuming.
Right.
Ask before you assume.
Yeah.
Because if you ask the question, now you're putting that ball in the court of the other individual and say, hey, here's what I heard. Here's what I perceive. Is that what you meant to say? Is that what you were trying to say? Or what did you say or what did you mean when you said this, and this?
Right.
Because I heard or I interpreted to mean this, and this. And so that is something that we try to do in our relationship. And again, it's not about perfection. We're only here to share our life and to share our, marriage and things that God has done in our lives, and still is doing in our life. And with those of you who watch these videos, those of you who are looking for advice, wisdom, counsel, because we believe that the body of Christ supplies that and is able to give that. And there may be some of you that may be not be a Christian. Well, we want to help show you that marriage is a relationship and a picture of Christ and the church. And so when two Christians are able to be married, then that shows a unity, and that shows how God relates to his people. And so it's not always going to be perfect, but the goal should be to honor God in all things with that. And at the same time, being Christian does not mean you you're not able to be funny, you're not able to enjoy yourselves. We enjoy our lives. We really do. We enjoy being with each other. We enjoy our children. We enjoy spending time with each other. I mean, get to love and get to like the person that you want to spend your life with.
And that's another thing, liking the person that you're choosing to be with.
Yes.
It's all fun and games when you are newly in love with someone, but you need to actually like the person that you're in love with, because there are going to be days maybe that you may feel like, I'll say feel like, you don't necessarily love that person that day.
Right.
But when you like somebody, you like being around them. You want to be in their company. They want to be in your company.
Yeah.
So learn to like the person that you're going to be spending the rest of your life with.
And let's go to maybe 2 more questions before we wrap this session up. Maybe. We'll see. So how fast you answer. Do you all keep your finances separate? Do you keep your finances separate?
No, we do not. I mean,
I'm like, is there a surprise I need to know about? She's like,
no. There's a long story behind that, because.
Tell them quickly, please.
Yeah, I'll tell this story quickly. And my kids were astonished and amazed when I told them this story. Yeah. But before Seiko and I were married, even before we were married, we had a joint checking account. He trusted me with his finances, and I demonstrated to him that I could be trusted with his finances. I wrote out checks for him. I paid bills for him. I paid his rent for him.
With my money.
With his money. Yes. Yeah. Because, I mean, when he got paid, the money would go in his account, and I would write out the checks for him.
Right.
But yeah, we had a joint checking account before we were even married. And it had my maiden name on it, and it had his name on it.
And here's the reason why: because I already knew that I wanted to be with her. I already knew I wanted to marry her. So I was already in that phase, and it was also a test for her as well too. I wanted to see if this was a Proverbs 31 woman that the heart of her husband fully trusting her, and he has no lack of gain. And that's Proverbs 31:10, I believe it is. So, men, if you really trust your spouse, if you really trust the woman that you said I do with, how do you handle, or how do you entrust the very thing that you work hard for, and that is your money, your livelihood? Because those are things that I believe that is very, very important. I mean, people say that money can make or break a marriage. And so, if you're not a good steward of those things, they can cause problems in your marriage as well too, both men and women. Now, my wife handles all the finances. I just entrust her with those things. But I believe that whoever is good with handling finances should be the one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which one of you do it.
Right.
Whoever's the better person to do it, or whoever has the time to do it, should be the one doing it.
Right. All right. One more question before we wrap this up. I mean, these two here are kind of like, I mean.
Oh, and I just want to also emphasize on the finance thing. Yeah. In a marriage, in a Christian marriage, I'll say, there should be no separate bank accounts.
No.
None. There's no reason, no justifiable reason.
Your money, my money.
For there to be separate bank accounts. No. If you're one, then your money should be one.
Exactly. And when we say that, we're not saying you can't have different accounts, but those different accounts need to have accessibility to both parties.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you said, because if you're one flesh, then you're one flesh. So it's none of this my money, his money. He spent his money, he didn't get my money. Then you're not one flesh.
Right.
You're not one flesh. So, but one last question. We're gonna wrap this up because we gotta run. All right. So, do y'all allow feet touching at bedtime? Yeah. April.
And Trish.
April and Trish. Yes. Y'all listen, how can two walk together that y'all foot don't touch together at bedtime?
And I do it all the time, because sometimes my feet be cold. Yeah, and I just move my feet over there. And I just move it away. Let her but
rub them together a little bit.
You've done that too, though.
That's different.
Oh, Lord.
Because she has body heat. So she has body heat. She had to rub her feet together like some twigs or something like that and get them warm before she put them on me. That thing's would be like icebergs. So, but anyway, look, we gotta wrap this up. So listen, we appreciate you guys. We thank you all for the questions. Again, like, subscribe, share the content. Hit the tab on the notification button on the screen on the YouTube channel. Again, if you'd like to reach out to me, brothers, SaikoWoods at yahoo.com, SAIKO, Woods with an S at yahoo.com. And ladies, if you want to reach out to my wife, pray for you, but Let's see if she'll get those emails.
I said inbox me, please, because I don't check my emails.
Yeah, give them the email. Yeah, give them the inbox information, but you can still put the email up.
The inbox on Facebook.
What is that?
What you mean? What's that?
What's
Everybody
your
know my Facebook name?
You may have new people.
Sharon Renee Woods on Facebook, okay? And if you just have to email me, it's SRENA Woods 36@yahoo.com.
And also, if you see the BCV gear, book chapter verse gear, I also have the shirts, have the hats, have the hoodies, things of that nature. If you like to purchase the merchandise, you can do that. Email SaikoWoods@yahoo.com or inbox me at SaikoWoods on Facebook. Also, if you like to support the ministry financially, you like to do that, you can go to PayPal under the email SaikoWoods@yahoo.com or Cash App, $SaikoWoods. Yeah, SaikoWoods, no y'all.com. SaikoWoods, $SaikoWoods. So that's it, you guys. We appreciate you, love you all, and we thank you for watching us. And until then, bye.
Stay tuned, y'all. Bye.
Bye.